Hello there, beautiful souls and beautiful humans. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Star Piece Utopia. And this is where we access the Star Piece codes for co-creating our personal paradise and a collective paradise. And today I am absolutely delighted to have the wonderful Rachel Dunn with me, an absolute soul sister who I can't wait to dive into this conversation with. For those of you who are new to me, I am a soul empath success coach. I am an original code keeper of the blueprint codes of this planet, and those are the Paradise Earth codes. And I'm the founder of the Star Piece movement. And it is my greatest joy to inspire visions of possible paradises, utopias, how this world can be if we all put our energy into allowing ourselves to believe something different is possible. And this wonderful woman is creating the most amazing content for what I would call conscious entertainment, which is right down my street or right up my street, because a big part of my work is recognizing how it is through the subconscious that things change. It's through what we watch, what we listen to, what we read, that we can actually start to evolve as a global consciousness and as a global society. So our lovely Rachel is the Queen Diva of Girl Director Academy, and also, what's the other one? Impact Film
Group.
Impact Film Group. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself right now so that I don't fluff it up, basically, and you can say exactly what you want. And then we're going to dive into what we've got planned today.
Thank you so much for having me. I mean, you're amazing. You just look at you. I just want to say how beautiful you look all the time when I see you. So that alone, I love it. But I just want to say my name's Rachel Dunn, and thanks for watching. I'm so excited to be here to share with you. I have Girl Director Academy and also Impact Film Group, which is about changing the world with impact films so long after they've created, so that it shifts consciousness, but also has education material so that it can shift in a bigger way.
Oh yeah, baby. And I think this is the thing. The moment we had a conversation, the moment we first met online, and it was through, a beautiful connection group that we have, it was like, oh, we're speaking the same language. We really need to connect. And this is why I've wanted to bring all of this onto my YouTube channel, to inspire those of us in the mainstream, those of us who are here. This is a channel. This is a possibility. This is something that is being made manifest because we are talking. Words are spells. Thoughts become things, right? We're weaving new realities together. And that is the power of film. That is the power of seeing something and going, wow, I'd never thought about it like that before. I'd never imagined that before. And also bringing to light what is hidden. And this is, I think, one of the most powerful things about you, Rachel, is you are so passionate about giving a voice to those who don't have a voice, whether they're animals or whether they're humans in different parts of the world where their story is not actually getting spoken or heard or seen. And if we're going to move out of duality, out of the shadows, out of there being good and bad, evil and not evil, we need to bring to light that which is hidden. So that's exactly what you're about. And I just want to dive into this. So what we're doing here is looking at these beautiful projects. You've got two that I'm so inspired by, and one is the I Am Elephant, right? Yes. And the other one is the Symphony of the Earth. And part of this series of interviews, for those of you who are new to this, is actually tracing back how we, as our time in the womb, our earliest influences actually impact us to activate our soul mission. So Rachel and I have never worked together in terms of sort of coaching work or anything like that, but we're resonating on this level because through her creativity, she's taken some of her earliest influences and they've actually, it's this turning a hindrance into a gift. And that's what we want to talk to today, because what I'm seeing in the world of entertainment, particularly fictional entertainment, is a lot of pain stories being put out into the collective in a way that it's not actually healing the pain. It's like a way of expressing something like art therapy, except it's en masse and it's not necessarily helping us to evolve beyond that pain. When we talk about something like a documentary, it's not fiction, but it's weaving what we see and what we hear and what we feel and what we think together. And it gives us this opportunity when those who are creating the content are coming from that higher perspective, their higher self perspective, to drop in more of this for the collective who actually watches it and listens to it. So it helps us ascend, it helps us to grow. So we're going to look a little bit at your early influences and how they actually shape this. But would you like to tell us a little bit first about what inspired you to get into film, to get into the work that you're actually doing?
You know, and I'll also just say what also is inspiring is that I want to inspire more women directors, because there's probably only about 5 to 7% of women directors out there. And it's not because there aren't any out there. There are so many, but it's just they don't get as many opportunities. Or so I want to see more women just going out there telling stories, because they are very different. And yeah, there needs to be more of that, just some more equilibrium, I would say.
Absolutely. And actually, before we go further, I forgot to say, you look hot as. I always love when you show up. You've got this rock chick status going on about you. And what we both have in common today is we're wearing some
bling. I know. If I'm going to wear a crystal, baby, it's going to be big.
That so ties into your early story, which I'm going to go into in a minute, but it's so funny. And I'm like, this is too small. But if I actually look at it deeply, it's got this amazing galactic like shining through. So we're both bringing through the frequencies of the crystal kingdom, which are actually really important, because if you think about it, the crystals have been here forever, right? They've been on this planet forever. When we put them on, we tap into that ancient eternalness of what has always been on this planet. And what you're saying about women and empowering women directors. And I mean, we've had lots of conversations about, you know, the challenges in the entertainment industry to actually be seen, one, and two, to get something out there that isn't just the same old. And, you know, in this world that we're in today, women are rising in power. However, there is this sense of needing to sort of don the patriarchal masculine hat or suit in order to be recognized, valued, respected. And what I see you do is really seeking to empower women, not just women, but also business owners, as you said, through lost it.
Girl director. Yeah, girl director. Yeah.
to take charge of how their visibility is actually presented, right? To not hide away. And this again is so much more of your bringing to lightness. So yeah, what got you into film? Tell us.
You know, I was one of those really lucky people that knew from the age of 15 that I wanted to be a director. First of all, you know, when you go to school and you kind of, I think 15 it is in Australia, you get a list and it's like, what are you going to do when you leave school? Well, because I grew up, my dad had a record store. I was around music and loved music. I just was obsessed with music videos. And I thought, I'm living in a country town. There's no real, I just thought, no, I want to be a music video director. That's what I want to do. So I would go to career day and all these things and be like, I want to be a music video director. And they'd be like, right, there's no real study for that here. And how are you going to do that? So that was my inspiration. I really started from 15 and I knew exactly what I wanted to do and where my path was.
Do you know what? I love that you brought that age up, because that's amazing. And I think for many of us, so let's actually just backtrack a little bit and talk about star peace and star seeds. So those of us who are on a consciousness path, we have a mission. We've come here to do something. We know we're like homing pigeons. Like, what is it? What is it? Yours drops in at 15. And it's like, I want to be a director. And you knew that that's part of your soul blueprint. Now, similarly for me at age 15, I read a book called The Only Planet of Choice. And this was a channeled book that was all about the fact that this planet was intended to be a living library for all different species, you know, different types of consciousness from around our planet, our universe even. And I found it fascinating, and it kind of tied in with when I had some rebirthing sessions, because I was a really unhappy teenager. But at that age, I knew... Too. Yeah, it's a common thing, isn't it? But for star seeds, we tend to struggle quite a lot early in life. We feel very sensitive to the world. Doesn't make sense to us. We're like, whoa, why is it like this? There's all sorts of stuff, often, you know, challenges as well at home, which is part of us remembering our mastery, right? But I was ridiculed as a 15-year-old for what I saw and what I believed. And, you know, getting over that fear of persecution and ridicule has been huge for me to actually show up and speak in this way. with you, did you have any of that? Was there any kind of sense of insecurity around what you wanted to do or how you were going
No, it was a really good question, because no, I felt real. It was almost like I clinged on to something that was so different that people didn't really, they always could go, oh, wow. Like they'd always respond with a positive reaction. And I think I just really loved that, because nobody else wanted to do that. So it's kind of set me apart. Being the rebellious teenager I was, it was kind of like, yeah, cool. No one can touch me. No one can do what I want to do. I want to be the only one doing that. So.
And it's a true Trailblazer's path, actually, because there won't have been that many female directors, right? Back then, when you were thinking about it. I'm not saying you're 150 years old, but you know what I mean? It's like one of those things.
No, 3 people in my media studies class in year 12, and 3 people, and they took the class because it was one of those, we'll bludge for the whole class, where I was studying, I was doing the work, I even made my first music video. And so the teacher wrote this thing about me. I've still got it, actually, saying, out of 13 years of teaching, I have never had a more enthusiastic student want to learn media studies. And I thought, well, there you go.
But that's it. That's exactly it. That is this sense of, you had this clarity of purpose, right? You had this clarity of what actually felt genuine and authentic to you. And it was like, this is it. This is it. I'm going to say that I think what I had clarity around at that age was I wanted to be Madonna.
Oh, that too. Yes. Yes. And I've been, especially because I love music videos, I would watch we've got a show called Rage. It's still on every single weekend. It starts 11 o'clock and goes right through to the morning every single weekend, both days. And I would just sit there every night and write down every song that I'd watch. It was like my study ground for music videos, and it still exists today. And it was such a great thing to watch and study and look at the different artists, look at the clothes, look at what shots worked, which shots didn't. I'm still obsessed with watching music videos.
That's amazing. You know, to consider the download at that time, because that kind of reminds me when I was doing theatre studies. So my path was definitely going down the theatrical arts path until, I went to university, and then things changed. And in my world, I wasn't given these really clear directions. This is what you're here to do. It's had to happen really incrementally to get to the point of what I accept I'm here to do today. And some of us as starseeds get this really strong, like, bam, this is it. This is your mission. Others will just be given the next step. And that was kind of my story. So part of mine was actually feeling very strongly that I needed to be a mother. And it was my daughter's soul was in my energy field from my age 8, from when I was a child, right? So she came in, I know, I was 21 when I was pregnant with her. She came in just like that. And it was a big part of my journey to learn about pre-birth influences, early influences, impact of birth, to unlock the next level of my awareness of what I'm here to do, which is obviously to reset us all to the before the fall, right? That's the idea, is that we know about intergenerational trauma, right? There's plenty of research to say that there is an impact of previous generations of trauma on our current generation, and how their DNA expresses, how they see the world, nervous system disposition, immune system, all of that, right? But actually, being able to remember that there is a time before the fall. There is a time before the trauma in our ancestral bloodlines, even our soul memories, that we can access. And I feel like this is a big part of what you're doing is, if we had no therapy, no healing, no modes of clearing trauma, the one thing that would reset all of us is reconnection to nature. And I think that's why it's so fascinating that, the symphony of the earth, that coming through in the music bit, just amazing.
Well, music has been around for 35,000 years plus. So you think about the universal language is music and is sound. And so when you think about that, it makes you smile, it can make you dance, it can make you cry. And I think that, imagine, a whole film that brings the animal sounds into it. And it's just, I love it. It's such a powerful piece.
It's, as you said, it's a universal language, right? It's beyond all of our different human languages, and it affects our energy, it affects our mood. So if I'd love to hear more about each of those projects in a sec, but I'm just going to take you into the next bit, which is really about, you know, how you feel your earliest influences have actually shaped how you show up and what you actually do. I've got a couple of prompts for you, because obviously, you know, we've had a chat beforehand, and like one of the things that I get so excited about is being able to see the connections. And if we start on the basis, because a lot of people don't realize the fact that we do have pre-birth memory, and we have a sense of emotional state that we can't quite put our finger on, but a lot of who we think we are, like what our vibrational set point is, i.e. I'm shy, I'm outgoing, I tend to feel anxious all the time, or I'm generally a happy disposition. This starts as we're growing in the womb space, okay? Because our physiology and our parental physiology is very linked, and their physiology is linked to the environment that they're in. So this is just an awareness. It's not about any kind of blame or shame or guilt around anything. It's just like understanding the impact of our environment on us, and how we perceive our environment also affects how we express our biology, our neurobiology, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
You've said to me, you know, off camera, that you were a happy accident, right? You know that your whole sort of coming into this world wasn't planned. So what I remember you saying, which I thought was beautiful, was when your mum first held you in her arms, she saw these beautiful brown eyes and was like, oh, this old soul. And the way you described you to me in her eyes is that you were this big independent baby, like you came out, you were here, you were ready to go. And you're also the eldest of two, right, in terms of your mum and dad's children. So I'm immediately like reading this as tremendous sense of responsibility, you know, like getting that sense of, right, I'm here to do something. And also this idea of kind of not being expected, but you knew you needed to come in, and you've come into two parents that you described to me as beautiful souls who you love dearly, have got a lovely connection with. And you said they're both spiritually connected, but you said that they didn't actually sort of push their beliefs on you. There was no sense of you must believe this or that. So it was left to you to find out for yourself. And there was a sort of if you like, they were kind of coming out of the sort of Catholic conditioning that they'd grown up around. Is there anything you want to say around that before I bring any more in?
Yeah, that's perfect. And look, the Catholic upbringing was huge. Mom was really rebellious, and she got expelled from school, and she, slapped a nun and left. And, dad was in a heavy metal band. So, you couldn't get much more rebellious, which I love, of course. And, that's why I probably grew up going, right, I'm going to do this. And so I'm very grateful for that thinking, and that free thinking and hippie kind of attitude was around a lot when I was growing up. So I love that.
Yeah, well, I feel it's so interesting, because in the work that I teach, we kind of have conditioning, right? And then typically what we'll do, if we are aware, like we're questioning, like many people, wherever they're at on their journey, they won't initially question the conditioning. It comes through various lifetimes and going, is this really what I believe, or is it what I've been taught to believe? And the first stage is to go from conditioned self to full-on rebellion, which is like the 180 degree, like opposite end of the scale, which sounds kind of like the parental journey. And all of us have that in our ancestry. We've probably done it in our own lives, which is why teenhood is rebellion time, and so is toddlerhood, right? But then in that journey of going to the other extreme, our sort of rest of our life, if you like, is about a bit like a pendulum, swinging slower and slower to find that midpoint that is your essence, your truth, which is really coming through in your work, right? And what I thought was really interesting was the fact that you said your mum was doing yoga when she was pregnant with you, and then she had this white light experience that was so amazing. It was like, I don't need to go back to yoga. I got the connection, right? So that was when she was pregnant with you.
I'm not sure if she was pregnant. I can't quote that. I'm not sure if I was around or if it was before me, but it was when she was quite young. So
Well, whether she was pregnant or not, what I would say to that is obviously those white light experiences are when we get connected to our soul, right? That's when we make a connection to the infinite, to the divine, to source, beyond religion, beyond indoctrination, beyond anyone else's idea of it. And then, you know, you're like, here you are talking about Symphony of the Earth, here you are talking about music. And, you know, your dad, as you said, had a record company. You know, he's a business owner, he's in a band himself, he's been managing bands as well, from what I can tell. Like, that correct? That's something you said?
That was, yeah, the country town he managed and just brought bands in, but it was more of a record shop that he had. And, you know, everyone from the town actually came and hung out there. It was just a really cool hangout place as well. So in the 80s.
The music was really woven in, right? It was woven into you. And you look like a rock star. Like, you've got that energy about you, and, you know, the music side of it. So you know, when I was going through, obviously, everything we talked about, some of the early memories, some of the early beliefs that you had, which I see having kind of really pushed you forward to have that tenacious spirit to break new ground, because you've been doing that your whole life, is to do with the fact that an essence of some of these early beliefs were not feeling like you were enough, which, I mean, this is very common amongst those of us who feel we're here on some sort of mission, because it feels like no matter what we do, it's never enough. And we've got to keep working harder and harder. And you mentioned you learned, you know, your dad really valued hard work in terms of, you know, like, it's good to work hard for something, that there's a reward in that itself. And there is, right? We know that.
Yeah, for sure.
There's also that bit of you that's like, I'm so done with this old paradigm of struggle. I'm ready for this quantum leap. I want something different, right? And I feel, well, in the not feeling enough, there was this sense again of going into not liking yourself very much. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what that was about for you?
Yeah, look, I think it really came more so, I didn't realize that was showing up until I started to make the doco. And that really, then I was, I have to be on camera because I'm giving a voice to someone else. And so I realized that, oh my God, I don't like seeing my images. I was a director behind the scenes, making everyone else look good, but then get the camera away from me. And so it was a good few years. I just didn't like any images of myself. I'd pull weird faces. And so somewhere along the line, I don't know where, but there definitely was somewhere there that it was, the I am not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough. And it's probably because I watch so much stuff about music clips and watching beautiful images that then when it was reflected back, I just didn't see myself in the same way. So that was a huge thing for me to work through. And that's why I'm so passionate now about helping women to overcome that, because I've been there and I know how crippling it is with opportunities, being able to speak up, being able to even share stories to help others as well when you've got your business. So it is crippling, that kind of belief.
It is, and it's actually massively, if you like, pushed on us. And a lot of the mainstream kind of advertising we see and entertainment is, we need to look a certain way, we need to be a certain way. Like a lot of the reality TV shows, for example, you know, you kind of get all that kind of stuff, right? So this breaking through, and I think this is really tied into what you said about the Girl Director Academy, is actually really supporting business owners to not just be back end, but to really own the front end of the shop, which I am the brand, you are the brand, this is the energy. Like the old world of business was very dry. You know, if we think about what we've come from the 80s, etc., moving forward as we've kind of expanded. And now it's like, I think everyone is recognizing that we're all energetic businesses on some level, right? Like whatever we're putting in the world. And in order to bridge this and to overcome the distortion, to bring to light this distortion of actually how we see ourselves, acknowledging, it's so powerful to acknowledge a vulnerability like this. Like, you know, you said you didn't like yourself very much. I didn't like myself very much. You know, I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh God, you don't look like who I feel I am, right? You know, this you know, I was quite heavily overweight as a teenager, and I remember putting a bag over my head and like just cutting some eyes out just so I could look at my body objectively, right, without the face. Yeah, and it was really powerful, and there was not a lot of love for that body, and I knew there was another body in there, right? And it's the body I have now. Yeah, it's a totally different body, but all of that was protection. For sensitives, typically, we'll get into food or some form of numbing out as children and teenagers and young adults, because we're very sensitive to the world around us. And I think this really plays through in terms of the docos that you're talking about, because you're giving a voice to animals, right? You're giving a voice to those that don't have a voice, and allowing, the whole thing here is around bringing to visibility what is hidden. And if we have limiting beliefs, we have self-hatred, we have a sense of not approving and accepting ourselves, anything we put out, if that isn't brought to light and cleared, is going to have an impact on the messaging and how the message is actually delivered, right? And how it's how it's delivered, but how it's received. Anything you want to say on that?
All I can say is absolutely. Yes, it has everything to do with that. And I think when you just there's causes that most people are passionate about, and I think that everybody does have a story to share, and people want to hear it. And I think some people think, no, I don't have anything to share. But in this digital world, I think it'd be so nice for you to share your wisdom, share those things that you've learned, because you never know, that person out there might just be waiting for your voice. And that's what I say to people. Even if you've heard it 100 times, you may not hear it in the way you say it or that you've learnt it. And it's going to take multiple messages sometimes to shift things. So it's so important that we shift everyone that didn't grow up with cameras, because I didn't grow up with a camera. It was go down and get it developed. And I think that was also part of it, that digital age where it's like, only take 20 shots and then you might get 1 or 2 out of that if you're lucky, and you pay for it to get developed. And I remember that, and you'd go there and you'd look out and you'd be like, oh, they're not very good. So we came from that world, and I think that empowering those that didn't grow up in that digital world so that they feel comfortable to share is definitely a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're making me think about the fact that we're literally, you've got YouTube, you've got all the social media channels. Like, you don't have to be making like films that are going to end up on Netflix or, in a cinema to have great impact. And I love what you just said, because owning your voice and actually discovering the authentic voice in there, right? That space, where we can say something that's true for us, like what I just shared, and some of the things you've been sharing is like, this is what allows us to sort of drop the external front and go, hey, I'm real, I'm human. And if we and if we can actually impact one person, just one person with something that we say, we are having an amazing impact on a lot of others. Right?
The ripple effect is huge. Absolutely. And that's what I love about films too, because it can be generational. And there's so many films. I mean, when you think about the films that really shifted your perception about the world, and make you go, oh my God, I didn't realize that existed, or you stopped a habit because you were so shocked about something you learned on a documentary. I mean, that stuff is just so profound. And that's what I'm also passionate about, is really finding those unique stories that need to be shared, and that are global as well.
Yeah, I love that, because I think this is the thing I'm really seeing as you're talking, is the impact of kind of the way we connect to each other in this way, and the way that we share. We've never had this opportunity before. Like, we didn't have as you said about film, it was like this long, laborious task to get something out, and it was very limited, and it was much more controlled. And so when we look at the history of film, you can say, we've really been shown what whoever has shown us wanted us to see in a very sort of packaged way, right? And you think about Hollywood movies, you think about, the connection even between politics and the entertainment industry is very interesting, right? But it's like it's been given back to the people now. And it's like, okay, everyone can create, everyone can put something out there.
Do you know what? The film industry is so young. When I was thinking about music again the other day, I was thinking, it's only, 100 or so years old. And same with music and films, music composition and films, we are at the beginning. So what is that, when we think about it, because some people go, oh, it's too late and this, but no, we are at the start. So when you think about it like that, we are at this huge growth area. What's next if we're just beginning?
This is Star Piece talking right here, because you're going, yeah, this is what we came from. What do we want to do with it? And that's the beauty.
Yeah.
Is the more each of us stops hiding in our own shadows and behind the scenes and actually dares to get in front and be, we're the actor, we're the director, we're the producer, we're the audience, we're all aspects of our own creation, because everyone's living their own simulated reality on some level, right? Our perception is different, and our perception is our reality. And actually this ties in, because I'm going to take you to the animal stories in a minute before you tell us a little bit more about these docos. But I was having a conversation with my daughter, I think it was on her birthday, so it was not so long ago, a few weeks ago. And she was telling me about a movie that Kate Winslet had done with her daughter. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was, Scarlett said to me, she was like, Mum, it'll be a bit too much for you because I'm very sensitive. She's like, it's really harrowing. But it was the story of a daughter who was a teenager who'd got into self-harming and was having a really terrible time. This was, Kate and her daughter improvising a lot of this. And a part of this movie, I will put it in the text box what the movie's called, because it's just left my brain now. But a lot of it was talking about the influence of social media as a negative influence on this teenager, and, her habit, what she was doing to try and basically feel good in herself, which was obviously very destructive for her body. And it was also showing beautifully the frustration of a mum who's trying to do everything she can to help her child in a world where things have changed so much. She doesn't even know, like the impact of what is happening with the social media and how the messaging is coming through. And the reason this is so important to me is I went through something very similar with my daughter. We went through some really, really tough years where I was a nervous wreck, is the truth. And, I just want to respect her. So I'm not going to go into too many details, but essentially what she said to me was actually she found social media really helpful to her at that time, which is interesting because it's sort of different take on it. Right. And it's like, whereas
perception.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's very easy for us. One of my favorite terms is throwing the baby out with the bathwater, is to condemn everything as good or bad and not to look at how something can be used in a way that's helpful and something that can be used in a way that's not so helpful. And that's the same with film, right?
Very much so. And look, everyone's going to have an opinion. And I think that sometimes when there's a negative about something, what it says to me, it's taken me a while to actually accept that, especially when you come from I'm not enough, and there's a fear there about if you put something out there that's a bit different, oh, what are they going to think? And I think what's good to understand is when you do have a conflict in what people like of your content or what you put out there, it opens up the dialogue for a shift. Because I know when I've been annoyed by things online, I'll usually actually go back and I'll end up buying something from that person. So it actually shifted something for me when I was annoyed. So it's really interesting to just look at that.
Oh, yeah, you're reminding me. Apparently, I can get right up people's noses when they first meet me occasionally.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. But you're reminding me of one of my dear friends who is now a dear friend. But when she first met me, she was quite offended by me because she was a militant vegan. And I say militant because she will say she was militant. She's in a very judgmental space herself, very rigid place. And I'd been a vegetarian, vegan all my life from the age of 12. And I decided for health reasons to go down the route of eating meat, of eating, organic, ultimately all I'll say is we get meat that literally my husband brings to the table. Like that's the journey. He goes out and he's a stalker himself. So our kind of relationship with meat and the ethics of meat is really well informed, but for many it won't seem like that, right? And in the year that I was a carnivore, I was pretty militant on the carnivore path and how good for me it was and how much it was helping me heal. But actually in our conversation, although she was initially offended and affronted by our conversation, it really helped her to look more deeply at her relationship with her beliefs, her decision making, etc. And we're really close now. And you know, it's just one of those things, as you say, that, you know, is conflict necessary for progress? We can really bring this back again to what you just said about if we have something inside of us that is fearful of, you know, needing some kind of approval, needing some kind of acceptance in what we're putting out. When you're working with that internally as someone who is doing deep inner work, and then you're putting stuff out into the world, it will come out in a different way as you kind of integrate those lessons. And let's take this to your story about the birdies. So do you want to tell us about that rather than me describe it?
Okay, well, I think one of the my first probably connection, I've done a lot of healing around this, was when I was really little. I had 2 incidents with birds when I grew up. And it was very painful because both of them I accidentally killed. And it was devastating to me as a 2-year-old, maybe, a 2-year-old, something like that. And one of them was a little emu. It was a baby emu and would follow me around. And what happened was went to lie by the fire and I was helping Dad carry wood, and then bang. And so I know, and we didn't have Emma for very long, Emma the emu. It was only a couple of weeks, but it felt like a lifetime to me, being, you know, maybe 4 at that time. And then another one was the same. It was the budgie, with a pet budgie we had at home. Mum would never let me take the budgie out of the cage because she was worried something was going to happen. Well, one day, you know, they were sleeping in and I'm like, Mum, can I let the budgie out? And I opened the cage, and then I went to the cupboard and got out some peanut butter out of the cupboard and slammed the door. And then the budgie, because it was so tame, flew right into the door as I slammed it. So as you can imagine, I got into lots of trouble, and it was just, I think I was just inconsolable because I thought, oh my God, what have I done wrong? And from that moment on, I just seemed to have this real connection with animals. Growing up, I'd go to farms and I seemed to go and make friends with the animals. So I think those memories are my first memories of me doing something, and then being really, like, my parents being so angry about it that it just, yeah, I did a lot of healing around that. It really affected me for a long time.
That is such a beautiful example. I just feel like in terms of us having these early, if you like, almost traumatic experiences that we experience, I say traumatic, please don't, I'm not minimizing trauma, but it was traumatic, right? But when we have something significant that's impacted us in a way that's painful in our childhood, and even earlier than that, we might not remember it, but it, you know, it's happened. There was your instigator to, you know, it was a sensitivity that you've turned into a strength, right? This traumatic experience led you to become way more aware of, you know, what couldn't speak out and say, hey, for themselves, right? And in particular, the story of the budgie, I was like, oh my goodness, you set a bird free and then the bird dies. And it's like that wanting to liberate, right? Liberate others. And then, you know, if it's almost like a story in our consciousness of an evolving humanity, is if everyone suddenly just took their power back and they didn't know how to use it, that would be quite dangerous, right? We need to be taught how to use our power wisely, because if we've not felt empowered, if we felt like we have to give our decision making over to external authority because we couldn't possibly know for ourselves what's right for us, and we've been educated to believe that, and, you know, these specialists, etc. And we're now at a stage of evolution in humanity's consciousness where we can, those of us who are ready, reclaim our sovereignty, reclaim our inner authority. Then that takes, you know, a journey. And I think that's the power, again, of what we watch, we listen to, we read, in helping us to slowly re-educate ourselves. So do you want to,
absolutely.
yeah, do you want to tell us about just tell us a bit more. I'd love to know more about both of these docos. I'd love to know more about I Am Elephant and about the Symphony of the Earth. So
I was just going to tell you also, there was another story after the bird when I was probably, it might have been around 30. So it was quite a bit later. There was a possum that I had an instinct that something was wrong. And it would come to the door, and it was this beautiful possum, and it was beautiful brush-tail, big possum. And I just saw the possum, thought there's something wrong. And over the period of a year, I didn't trust that instinct. And this possum got sicker and sicker, and it would come inside, but I didn't kind of know. It was like, I'd think, oh, is there something wrong? No, there's not. What do I know? So again, there was that questioning about my intuition. And so this possum got worse until one day when I went under the house to go and get something, all of a sudden it's like the Gremlin movie where this possum had hardly any fur. It had got this horrible sickness. And I grabbed it, put it into a box, and Michael and I, my husband and I, took him to the vet, and he had to be put down. And I thought, I was crying all the way to the vet and I said, I will never, ever doubt my intuition again when it comes to animals, which is why I think that led me on to the documentary and why I followed my instincts, because I made that promise that night that I wouldn't doubt my instincts, even if they're crazy, again. So again, these animal messages just keep coming throughout my life. So.
Oh, you really touched my heart with that. And that's it. Is it a beautiful example? Thank you for sharing that. I love it. Go on. Tell us, what did that then lead you into? So what came first, I Am Elephant or Symphony of the Earth?
Well, Symphony of the Earth was probably first because a beautiful friend of mine that I was working on a film with, Dr. Jim Fraser, he told me about his vision. And he said he had this vision to create this movie called Symphony of the Earth. And I remember thinking, I was in tears when he told me, and I'm like, damn it, why didn't I come up with that idea? That's what I want to do. Animals, music, oh my God, that is mine. Now, he actually passed away last year, and we've been absolutely best of friends for many, many years. And he's in his 80s last year, and he said to me, he wants to give that over to me to make sure that happens. And so I'm the torchbearer of his vision, and I feel very honored because Jim, he was David Attenborough's cinematographer for 30 years. So he saw a lot of things in the wild, and he learned about the different sounds in the Amazon or the jungle, and every single sound that you hear on the radio or in a rock band is in nature. We've got an incredible bird here actually in Australia called the lyrebird. And if you check it out, Google it, you'll see the lyrebird can mimic any human sound. So they're like a digital recorder. They can do chainsaws, they can do like car alarms, and they're really playing back our own world back to us through a bird sound that's at the zoo, or they do whistling and talking. They will mimic any sound that they hear around them. It's phenomenal.
Wow.
So Symphony of the Earth is about giving animals a voice. And we're in the pre stages right now where we're talking to investors and musicians. But think of Live Aid, the impact that it had on a live and a concert type of way. Well, Symphony of the Earth is about bringing together some of the world's most iconic rock stars from around the world. And the actual narrative, it's a musical. So in the words of the music will be the emotion, and we'll be taking people through 12 movements like you would with any symphony, but there'll be rock and there'll be other sounds and very beautiful tribal sounds, and animal sounds are going to feature through this beautiful film. It's not a documentary, it's a film. And the emotional experience will be through sound. And that's what we want to capture with animal sounds that people just have never heard before.
That sounds absolutely amazing.
So imagine the whole world coming together through one incredible film that, of course, brings its own audience with these musicians, but also animals, and hearing them for the first time, because most people haven't really heard. We forgot to listen. We forgot to listen out there with our busy world, and now it's time to come back.
So yes, and I'm buzzing as you're saying this. I tell you what's just dropped into my mind is Bill and Ted's the latest Bill and Ted movie. Have you seen it?
No.
I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but let's just say music saves the world, right? It is particularly.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want to ruin it for you, but like,
oh my God.
Keanu Reeves, as far as I'm concerned, is like the one, the chosen one. Whatever he seems to like get involved in, there's definitely a message there of some about
really
humanity. Yeah, it's crazy, but wow. I don't want to ruin it. Watch it, but essentially, I'm feeling what you're saying, and I'm like, wow, there's a vibrational intention as the main. Let's just say star piece. The whole point of star piece is that I got a message back in 2020, on the 31st of October, that in our universe, the light has won. It was like, bam, I was waking up. It was a very strong audio message. I was told that it was my role now. This was my soul mission now, to let the world know. And I'm like, star piece. Okay. Star Wars, star piece. It's the opposite of Star Wars, but it was about how these codes, which I now see as, these original, it's impulsing the awakening of the paradise codes on the planet and in each of us, so we can remember our original blueprint before the fall, before the sin, before the whatever we want to call it. But it's about star piece influencing a personal idea of a personal piece. Like, what would my personal paradise look like? What would your personal paradise look like? And then through us owning that, we create a global village of peace, because every one of us is tapping into it. So it's the as above, below, and then all around. So if there was a vibrational tone that you want everybody to leave with, having watched that beautiful movie, what would it be? What's the vibrational set point, if you like, you'd love them to entrain to as a result of it? Just whatever comes.
Look, I think this and the elephant documentary are all about giving animals a voice. And I think that until we have unity with animals as well, but I think that there's so much dominating where you think I'm the owner. And I think that we've got to come into unity together. And animal language is just like another language. You just don't have an interpreter, and there are interpreters out there, but when you learn what they want and you work together, that's unity to me.
I think you've just said the vibrational set point is unity. That's it, right? That's what you're bringing this voice to the animals, and you're basically saying we are all one, right? We're not better than, we're not more than, we're not here to own, we're here to live in harmony with, right? I love it. Okay. On to I Am Elephant. Tell us more about that.
So I Am Elephant in 2012, I had a bit of a meltdown, as you do, just before you have a big breakthrough. And after this possum experience, I started learning a little bit about animal communication, and I started to get some profound experiences. Now, one day in the shower, as I get my ideas, I don't know if you do, but I get my very cool ideas in the shower. But one day I had a vision very clearly of an elephant taking a photograph, a selfie, like a own selfie. And I just thought, what the hell? I've never seen that. I don't know anything about elephants. What the hell is that? And I got out of the shower and I told Michael, and he's like, right. And I said, what if an elephant somewhere is trying to communicate or wants to say something and wants to learn how to take photos? So that's where I researched and found that no elephants were doing that. I don't know where that came from. So something inside me, like you, with your mission that you woke up with, I felt compelled to go and find that elephant that sent me the message. So I packed my bags, headed off to Thailand. And this has taken me 9 years, this particular story, because I've gone all around the world and I've followed animal communicators to prove telepathic communication exists with elephants. And I have interviewed, people that have studied and they're professors. They've studied thousands of case studies I've traveled the world talking to elephants, elephant whisperers, you name it, to really bring that into this doco. And I think also the message is that it's about listening to elephant leadership. People want to be lions and they want to be all these things, but elephants are calm, they're powerful, they're the matriarch, they're family orientated, they're connection, they're also vegan. I've got a lot to learn.
Wow, that's amazing. So has that actually been, when is that coming out? That's not yet come out?
So it's filmed. I've been filming it for 9 years, and at the moment we're just looking for that final investor, and we're actually just in the editing stage. So it'll be produced. I want it to be finished this year, but I've got 2 big projects this year, and I really want to have both, like one started and one finished. Because I feel that now is the time, because this elephant, one of them that I followed in Africa, there's huge things going on right now, and I can't say too much, but yeah, there's a lot of unrest going on. So the documentary is coming to a head, and that's going to be the finish. So I really want to get all of that finished, and then I'll be ready to finish. So.
Well, anyone who's watching this, if you are an angel investor looking to invest in a phenomenal project, there's one right here that needs finishing. So please get in touch with us, because we want to get it out as soon as possible. That'd be amazing. And yeah, I just love the idea of more of this coming out, because it's these stories are really powerful. And, you know, there are a lot of people like me in the world who are very, very sensitive and therefore very careful about what we watch. Like literally, I watched 3 adverts on a normal TV show, like TV station the other day. And I'm like, oh my God, if people are watching this every day, I can only imagine what their narrative in their head is, because I've just walked away, seen it all once, and it's playing in my head in a really uncomfortable way. Can't watch horrors, can't watch dramas. There's a load of stuff I can't watch because it will just play too much. But when I get taken into a story that will show the problem and also the solution, I'm interested, I'm in for it. You know, I will do it, because if I can, and when I say show the solution, we are co-creating the solution, right? Part of the solution is bringing light to something, saying, hey, did you know this is happening? Is this really okay at this point in time? No, we've evolved beyond this. We need to do something different. And it makes it possible for those who don't even know it's going on, but care about it, to get involved and create that change. The important thing for me, and why I'm so passionate about us all recognizing how important it is to get our subconscious to align with our higher conscious and our conscious will, is that if we're coming from pain, trying to affect change in the world, we're literally trying, rather than in that sovereign centered state where we can radiate out the frequency to bring everyone up to, right? And so we can affect change, but it's limited, it's frustrating, it's like not actually really going forward, it's juddering. And when we look back on it, we can see if we're coming from that place which is unresolved and uncentered, you will do something will go out in the world, but will it have the desired effect, the desired impact? And that's why this kind of is part of the prep, as I see it, working with creatives to go, right, let's clear your pain story around this, so you can really get this out there in the world in a way that it'll be received as, this is the issue, and what can we do about it? What are the possibilities? Where can we take this to? And then it allows, it's like open forum, right? It allows everyone to kind of go, well, yeah, that, and what about this, and what about that? So I can't wait for this to come out. I really can't wait. I'm so excited.
It's one of those things that I know that if it's just the messages from the elephants are going to get louder and louder, and the messages do, and they are getting louder and louder. I get so many links and tags every day that it's beyond me. It's not me. This just has to come through me. So.
And that is the other thing about when you feel not enough and when you don't like yourself, is very often this is so preventing us from actually allowing something to come through us. It's not us. If we think it's up to me, I'll never do it. It's too much. But if I'm just if I allow myself to be a channel of, you know, of star peace, of grace, of whatever wants to come through, it's like, okay, give me the next direction step and I will take it and I'll bring this forward. And we have to constantly clear our resistance. Like I said, for me now at this point, it's the ridicule. right? It's like not worrying about that. It doesn't matter if you feel like that, that's okay, but I'm still going to do what I'm doing, like you're doing what you're doing. Does my best inspiration come in the shower? It's always when I'm doing something else, invariably, right? And that is the thing, because you're not thinking, you've put the question out, you're doing something else, and it drops in. And I don't know about you, I have paper everywhere, writing stuff down.
Yep, notebooks of notebooks. Yep, and I've even drawn. Yeah, I'm not going to show you, but yeah, I sometimes draw little pictures, you know, that just sit here.
Well, yeah, helpful. That's going to minimize the actual paper usage. Right, let's go on. Let's move into yeah, your sensitivities turned into superpowers. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Because I think we've demonstrated really beautifully how you've been doing that. But
look, I think the documentary has taken me 9 years because, one, it's a particular elephant that I've been following, but there's been a lot of self-doubt, like questioning whether I'm going nuts or questioning my intuition, and then kind of not seeing proof, so questioning it and then questioning it. So that constant questioning, and not just following the flow, following the inspiration, rather than kind of pulling it back and not letting it flow. So yeah, just I think that's been a big lesson through this. And you know, when I first got on that plane and went over to Thailand to the first elephant, I even was upgraded for free to business class and didn't ask for it. Like, I knew when I got there, and I'm tears in my eyes and leaving on my own, and they like upgraded me for free. And I'm going, this is all in that inspiration and following my intuition. But as soon as I started questioning myself, that's when things, you know, have got stuck, or the momentum stops.
Yeah, it's the foot on the gas and the foot on the brake at the same time. And I go through exactly the same thing, and it's exactly what I teach in all my coaching. I'm like, just before you're going to have a big leap, you're going to regress, right? And if we buy children always go through a developmental regression, like they'll revert to old behavior before they go through a developmental leap. Same with fevers, right? We'll have a fever to take us to the next level. As adults, we're no different.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So, but the thing that where we get stuck as creatives, and I'm so glad you brought that up, is we'll start feeling that doubt, and rather than recognize that doubt as a sign that we're breaking through the familiar territory into new ground, we question and question and question, and then our perception changes and the world seems more threatening rather than supportive of it, right? And then we take that back step. And however long it takes, but this is exactly why this conversation is so important, because anyone else who's going through that, really recognize, you know,
you're on the cusp of a breakthrough. Just keep going
face that fear and do it anyway. And remember that you know, fortune favors the brave. At the end of the day, there's no such thing as failure. I like
to look at it, is it taking you towards pain or power? And like, ask that question. That'll help you make the decision instantly whether you want to go that way or not.
And either a way we can move that into, instead of either or, and this and more, is to get to your power, you're going to need to go through that pain, right? Of like actually going to the other side and actually allowing the birth canal. The way I describe it is we can stretch and expand our comfort zone to a certain point, like a womb, right? It's growing a baby, but there's going to come a point when that baby can't stay in that womb anymore, and it's got to go through the birth canal. And that's when you are going through that squeezed, horrible, painful, I can't do it, take me home, to out into, oh, I've done it, I'm doing it, I'm here right now, right? And in many ways, both of us are doing this in our own ways right now in our life.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, so just to bring this to wrapping up, there's two more questions I really want to ask you, which is, what is your vision of Paradise Earth? Like, if you were the co-creator of the earth for the world, like a vision for the world, what is it?
It's definitely around the cohabitation, around giving everyone a voice. But I just want to see more kindness with animals, and more understanding. And I think that comes with people too. I think that there is going to be different views, and just, I don't know. It's about animals for me. It's really about Yeah. If it's going to be a perfect world out there, I want to have unity with animals, connection, giving everybody a voice.
I love that. I love that. And I would add to that, there is absolutely no need for the kind of intensive farming that we have in the world today, the way that animals are slaughtered, all of that, you know, okay, in an ideal world, some will believe everyone should be vegan, and that's okay. Maybe we will evolve into that as a collective, but on the basis that having the experience myself of being so much healthier on meat versus not, and then making the choices as to what I'm gonna buy into and not buy into, and not buying, you know, supermarket meat, and all of that we consume is wild, right? So it doesn't even know that it's going to not be there in a moment. And there's a whole, the spirituality around it is often overlooked in terms of the respect that a stalker will have for the animal that they're working with. And, you know, there is a soul contract, if you like, on different levels, and it's another story completely. But
yes, I understand.
There's no need for suffering. There's no need for the horrendous, I mean, the animal experiments, all the things that are going on that are done in the name of our, what is it, evolution? And it's like, really? Is this evolved? Is this the only way? Is there a better way? And that's the thing, is I want us to move beyond blame, but I do want to say, look, let's stop justifying what really we're ready to go beyond, and let's ask what else is possible.
Also, I like to think that just because a culture was the way things were, doesn't mean that it can change. Like, I think that just because something was like that in the, like 100 years ago, and you're still doing it today, what's to say it absolutely can change and evolve. And it's time that we looked at that.
Absolutely, starseed. That is the code of a starseed. It's like, it's always been like that, in your opinion, doesn't mean it's the way it always has to be, because always, that's an interesting term, isn't it? What's always?
It is.
How do we know? All right, last one, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Cool. Hit me with it.
So what do you want to share with this world as your personal message? I think you've already covered it, but you get this chance to say it one more time.
I just think that music is the healing. Music is healing, and the bringing in more of the energetic side to healing and being able to, I just think there are so many amazing things to heal now with different ailments, different things, different illnesses. Lifting the vibration of the planet is with sound, and the more we bring music in, the more we bring sound, the better. And I think the world has got noisier, it's got brighter, and we need to come back and switch more lights off, have community, have connection again, and get out those instruments and play and feel good, because when you do drumming circles and things like that, you feel amazing. That's so true. Bring music into your life.
You just reminded me.
I can't play very well any instruments, but I can bang on a drum and I feel damn good.
We've got two guitars in the corner there. As you were talking, I was like, oh, I need to pick it up. It's always like, oh, my nails are too long. Oh no, I don't sound good.
Were you a Bowie fan by any chance?
No, I wasn't. I mean,
you weren't a Bowie fan? Wow.
Before my time, I found him interesting and intriguing, and yes, I do find him interesting and intriguing, but I was absolutely in the Madonna camp. I was so, like, I honestly felt I had a soul connection with her. I still do, but it's interesting seeing the direction she's gone in over time. I don't feel the connection I used to have.
Me too. Although I will say on that she was ridiculed at the Grammys, and I just thought to myself, you know, if that's the people want to find, like, if that's what the news has come to, that they are bagging somebody for, I just think, you know what, they have their choices. If they're happy, then I don't. It's like, great. Yeah.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. If they're happy, and I think this is a really big thing, is how it's another subject, but it's how fame can obviously really distort our own sense of self and connection to the world, etc. And the way that we, you know, it is a whole other subject. And I have tremendous respect for her as an artist. I have tremendous respect for all the ways that she's kind of pushed things forward. But rebelling and reacting for the sake of rebelling and reacting is a stage of growth, but there's obviously much more. And I'm not saying that's what she's just done, because there's so much intelligence and depth on so many levels. However, it's not, you know, at this stage, I see the whole sort of, if you like, where she's got to on her journey in a different way. And I think a lot of that is influenced, obviously, by how we're told to see things. So there's a lot of people I'd love to have dinner with, put it that way, and have a conversation with, and actually really meet them soul to soul, human to human.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's really magical. And I'd just love to, you know, ask you if there are those who are obviously viewing this that would like to get in touch with you and find out more about both of your phenomenal businesses. How can they do that? Where should we send them?
I think the easiest way is Girl Director. You can find me on Facebook, or you can find me on Insta. Anything, if you look up Girl Director, you'll see us. Yeah, send me an email, send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know. Yeah, tell me about your musical things you're doing. Tell me about the animal connections. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, it's time to bring everyone around. It's roundtable discussions. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody who's been tuning in. Please comment, please subscribe, please do, you know, let us know how you found this and what kind of insights were evoked through having this conversation, because everyone that I'm going to bring on, you know, through this series of interviews has really got something beautiful to bring into this world and to weave in to this idea of co-creating a new vision for this earth, and one where we're not all the same. This is the point. We're not all the same. We're celebrating that individuality. We're each a unique divine spark, right? We have a unique expression of the divine, but we can agree on some common ground for us to live in harmony on this earth with the animals, with different humans, you know, different ways of seeing the world, and just allowing there to be some basic respect for that harmony. So thank you for opening this conversation so beautifully and this series. And I'm sending you so much love. Big hug to you.
Mwah.
Big hug to everybody else. More coming. Thank you. If anyone would like to find out more about what I do, please do just get in touch, and I'll be glad to have a conversation with you about the infinite possibilities available to you when you connect to your divinity and your soul consciousness, because that's what this is all about. Loads of love. Take care for now.